St. Louis FC and Charleston Battery in a battle of the two sides just above the playoff line in the USL Championship Eastern Conference. Tonight's match is brought to you by the Cheshire Inn and LHM Hotel. Chris Whittingham and the former Manchester United goalkeeper Gary Bailey here for commentary. 9 versus 10 in the East. It's a huge match in the playoff picture as we now look at just exactly what it means for the race and how close these two are to the cutoff line.
This is absolutely crucial for them. The points they can get in these last few games could determine if they make it into the playoffs or not. And you see how close it is by those figures there. So Lewis having played the 1 game extra.
Yeah, Charleston Battery going nearly a full month without playing a match on account of multiple lightning delays and a car accident suffered on the way to a match with Swope Park Rangers. We get now to our electrical connection player to watch. St. Louis could do more from central midfield, and Lewis Hilton is the engine for Anthony Pulis.
He is the engine. He's also great on set pieces, puts a beautiful ball into the box. I just want to see more from him in terms of driving forward. He scored an incredible goal against Bethlehem Steel a few weeks ago from midfield. That's his only goal of the season for the 25-year-old. If he can get up there more often, if he can hunt around the box, he could cause all sorts of problems for Charleston tonight.
Transitioning to our defensive keys to the match, and they're presented by Fortinet Gary Bailey.
Have a look at St. Louis. Watch Charleston on set pieces. It was Coach Pulis who says this is one of the strengths of Charleston at set pieces. So have to be careful there. And from a Charleston Battery point of view, looking for a clean sheet. Their last one, believe it or not, was 13 games ago against St. Louis.
Yes, indeed. Only 3 clean sheets for Joe Kuzminski in goal for Charleston Battery this year from 19 matches, so can certainly do with one tonight. St. Louis with just 1 win in their last 12 in the league. Charleston off their worst ever loss in USL. They try and turn it around tonight. Starting lineups and first half kickoff are on the way.
This year we developed Ale d'Or, which is a beer brewed exclusively for the St. Louis Football Club. We've been partners with STLC for coming up on 3 years now. St. Louis Football Club got some Schlafly, call out our Luligan friends on the side. You'll be able to find Ale d'Or obviously out at Soccer Park and then at your local grocery in and around St. Louis, so we're really excited to get it out there in the market. We're excited to debut it in 16-ounce cans for the upcoming season.
When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to theelectricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce, your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org. When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to theelectricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce, your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org.
Live scenes from the West Community Stadium in Fenton, Missouri, as we are ready for tonight's match, which is presented by the Cheshire Inn and LHM Hotel. Chris Whittingham, Gary Bailey, along for St. Louis FC and Charleston Battery tonight in the USL Championship Eastern Conference. We're going to bring you our starting lineups presented by Schlafly and Gary. St. Louis only making the 1 change from the team that drew 0-0 with Memphis 901 on Tuesday night.
Yes, 19-year-old Nietzsche Vlastos comes in for Colin Fernandez, one of the new signings. Otherwise, it's the same side. Reynolds sits in that sort of holding position alongside Hilton, battling it out there. He replaces Omar, who's still suspended. And of course, up front, Gray can score goals, Cicerone can, and Dacre. So a good attacking trio up front for St. Louis.
As for Charleston Battery, making sweeping changes from the team that lost by 5-0 to the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and why not?
And guess what? They made 5 changes after they lost 5-0. In comes Woodbine, J. Bolt, Ritmeier, Candela, and Svensson. Out go Higashi, Kelly Rosales, Guerra, who's suspended, Piggott, and Bashua.
And for Charleston Battery, returning more to their normal shape, a 4-4-2, but tried to match Tampa Bay Rowdies like for like in terms of system, going 3 at the back, and it didn't quite come off.
No, losing 5-0 at home certainly is not quite coming off, but in fairness to them, and it's a point you were making off air to me, they've missed a lot of games through various weather issues and a terrible crash, and so it's very difficult to be at your best when you're not been playing every single week, and then you come up against a team in such form as Tampa Bay Rowdies, and they've pretty much got a thrashing, Charleston, but they'll be looking to try and bounce back here tonight.
St. Louis getting pumped up and ready to go for this one. Tampa Bay as well having a Tula Guerra sent off, and therefore he is unavailable due to red card suspension. You mentioned Oscar Umar unavailable. He picked up a red card. It was a second yellow and also his 5th yellow of the year, and therefore he is unavailable with a second game suspension. St. Louis FC and Charleston Battery in a battle, the two sides just above the playoff line in the USL Championship Eastern Conference.
Yep, and they're two teams with pretty poor form at the moment. If you go by their wins, 1 win in 9 for St. Louis after such a great cup run. It's a real problem for them. And it's beginning to grow game by game. And Charleston Battery, well, 1 win in 7, including that 5-0 thumping by Tampa Bay Rowdies. So both these teams, Chris, looking to try and turn it around and get back to winning ways.
And for St. Louis, frustrated on Tuesday night with a 0-0 draw here at the West Community Stadium, because they were up a man for more than an hour and couldn't break down Memphis 901. Anthony Pulis was frustrated with some of the time-wasting tactics. It was a thoroughly professional performance from Memphis 901, who bunkered in and got the point.
They did, and he would expect at home, because they have fantastic home form, St. Louis. He was expecting the likes of Cicerone and Greg to try and get a breakthrough, and it just wasn't the right service to them. Some good crosses from Bradley Camden-Feo, but not enough to cause Memphis too many problems. And in the end, Memphis an excellent away draw, and 2 more points slipping away from St. Louis. And as we said, sitting in 10th spot, they're right on the cusp of going out of the playoffs.
And only 1 point behind at Charleston Battery. We can call this one an Eastern Conference playoff 6-pointer, as Matt Boehner tries to get to it on that byline, but shouldered off it by Jay Bolt, and it will be a goal kick here for Charleston Battery.
As we said in the opening, for Charleston, their last clean sheet was 13 games ago against, of all teams, St. Louis. And you know, I always think clean sheets are a vital part of getting good results. If you get a clean sheet, you give your strikers every chance to nick one at the end, or nick one at any stage when you win 1-0. You keep conceding goals, and the team have to work so hard to win games. So for Charleston, I've no doubt they would love to get a clean sheet here tonight.
The Joe Kuzminski, who would try and do that, played every minute of this season for Charleston Battery in his 3rd season with the club. As you mentioned, only kept 3 clean sheets on the year. That was a 0-0 back at the MUSC Health Stadium earlier this year. Charleston's only ever win was in July of 2017 against St. Louis FC. They've been in USL for 5 years, but have switched conference every year. We talked about this in the pre-match. It's sort of right in the middle of the country, where you're on that dividing line between whether or not you're in the East or the West. And so this year, they're in the East.
Well, at least you get to see the country that way if you stay with a club for more than 2 years.
It's a late tackle coming in here on Dakers, and yellow is going to be shown for Vincenzo Candela, returning into the team tonight after missing last time out. And here's his late tackle coming through Kadeem Dakers.
That's not a good tackle at all, and I think that deserves a yellow. And this referee's a tough referee, Malik Badawa. He's not going to be scared about giving those yellows, but it is a dangerous tackle, and more we see you can't go lunging in. You can't go with the so-called scissors tackle that we saw there. And now Candela's going to have to be very careful. We've done a few games in recent weeks where players have been sent off for second yellows.
As Svantesson trying to apply the pressure, and again coming into Tomas Gomez, who claims right in terms of the matchday referee. Malik Badawi sent 2 players off in a match we commentated last weekend as Charlotte played Louisville City It was 10v10. Here's Bradley Camden-Fayewo, part of that back four tonight with Fanuel Kavita and Sam Fink, who have started every match at center back, with Matt Boehner on this right-hand side. In the back four, Sean Reynolds, the holder, with Lewis Hilton and Nishi Vlastos in front of him. Reynolds has played all over the park for Anthony Pulis in his 2 years with the club. This is fourth position, moving from left back to center back to right back to holding midfield. And the front three of Kadeem Dakers on the right. Kyle Gregg leads the line. The top scorer in USL. It's played in behind for Cicerone in the penalty area. Cutting onto his right. Nice couple of touches. The tackle coming in. Still Hilton and Cicerone went down. Referee not waving away. This line play to continue as it's Todd Brian Anunga who lays off for Jay Bolt to clear, who's won a free kick for a late tackle.
I thought that was a good chance there for Cicerone. He did so well to get in the box. He then comes on his right foot. You think, as Anthony Pulis watches on there, you think he's going to let rip, and he just, have a look here. I'm thinking, hit it. And he sort of takes a second step. And in that moment, he gets tackled, goes to Greg. He can't get the shot on target. And Cicerone, for me, the early part of the season was brilliant. He just seems to have lost a little bit of confidence in front of goals. And that was a good example of where maybe he should have pulled the trigger a little bit earlier.
3 goals, excuse me, 5 goals in all competition, 3 assists in all comps, including that tremendous run in the US Open Cup. Saw them win 5 matches on their way to the quarterfinal. Long throw in, swung in there by O'Brien Woodbine in the penalty area towards Svantesson. Hilton trying to work around multiple defenders, and eventually a free kick awarded as flying through Jared Van Schaik.
Just thinking, with a throw like that from Woodbine, he can cause all sorts of problems. He's got a huge unit there in number 9, Ian Svantesson. Look how big he is up front. If you've got that man as your target man and you can throw the ball into the middle of the box, you can cause teams all sorts of problems. So expect to see more of those throws from O'Brien Woodbine as the match goes on.
Fink to the feet of Vlastos. Makes his first start in the league for Anthony Pulis. This comes out to this right-hand side. The cross delivered with pace towards Cicerone, who tries to get there on the back post. Down for the goal kick. Nice delivery there from Matt Boehner on that right-hand side.
It was a good delivery, wasn't it? Whipped in at a good height. Cicerone bombing into the box. Doesn't quite get on the end of it, but that's a lovely ball. And I don't mind that sometimes, even if strikers don't get on the end, because what you're saying to them is keep doing that. I'm going to keep putting the balls in danger areas. You keep running, you will get on the end of one eventually. So excellent ball in there from the right back, Matt Boehner. And I'm sure St. Louis fans will be hoping he puts plenty more of those into that box as the match goes on.
Reynolds winning the header away for a Charleston throw. And for Charleston Battery, off a 5-0 loss, they were 2-0 down after 4 minutes. 3-0 down before a Tula Guerra sent off, and eventually lose 5-0. What does a manager and a team do after a hammering quite like that?
Well, my suggestion, totally forget about it. You have one meeting where you hammer out all the problems, you point fingers at those who didn't pull their weight, you have an honest, frank, and at times brutal exchange, and then you put it aside, because we've all played in games where it's just all gone wrong for us. Even the best teams in the country have been, beat by 4 and 5 and 6 on occasions. And when it happens, once you've had the post-mortem, you forget about it, and you look for the positives. And the positives for Charleston is they're sitting in 9th, they're still in the playoff places, they've got games in hand, and they've got a chance here this evening and in games to come to cement their playoff places. So plenty of positives. Woodbine trying to send the cross through towards Svantesson, who is making a strong run towards that near post. And Gomez too at first, but not bad delivery from wide areas. Similar to the early one we saw from Matt Boehner. Stick it in the box, give your strikers something to run at. And it's very difficult for the defenders. Thomas Gomez doing really well and keeping his good form going, which is unfortunately meant Jake Finlayson's on the bench, the man who started most of the season in goals for St. Louis. Gomez got a solid run in the cup and has real pedigree in USL. As a former Golden Glove winner.
Fenelson preferred at the start of the year. Gomez was also recovering from injury, but Fenelson was playing so well, has 6 clean sheets on the year. Just couldn't take him out of the team, but eventually Pulis making the change to his #1, and also a local kid from St. Louis.
You mentioned some of the cup games that Thomas Gomez played in. There was the Chicago Fire match where he had a triple save in the one game. Absolutely brilliant. It shows what he's capable of, and it's great for Anthony Pulis that he's got 2 top-class keepers, Thomas Gomez and Jake Finlayson. It ensures good rivalry between the keepers.
Leland Archer stepping to win in midfield and earning his side a free kick off of Kyle Gregg, the Trinidad and Tobago international, was called in the squad for the Gold Cup. We have 2 players in the side tonight for Charleston that featured in the CONCACAF Summer Tournament. Also, Zico Lewis, part of that group that lead the line tonight for Charleston. In terms of their team, Joe Kuzminski in goal, a back 4 of O'Brien, Woodbine at right back, Leland Archer and Taylor Mueller, the captain. Center backs Jay Bolt on the left. Through central midfield, Tom Brian Anunga and Vincenzo Candela. On the right, Nico Rittmeyer. And on the left here, Van Schaik in midfield, Zico Lewis and Ian Svantesson up top. Throwing for Matt Boehner. Players all playing for manager Michael Anhauser, who's been with Charleston Battery since 1994. Wow. First as a player, then as an assistant, now as manager for more than a decade.
That's dedication to the cause. Don't see that much in football these days. It's wherever the money is, the players and I guess the coaching staff go. So great to see Michael Anhauser being literally a one-club man.
And also, you don't see people with one club for such a long period of time, because there aren't very many American clubs that have been around for that long. But Charleston Battery, Richmond Kickers, among the clubs that carry that sort of tradition in USL. Richmond at League One level, but one of the most historic clubs in the country, Charleston Battery. Here's Sam Fink. Over the top and spraying towards Matt Boehner, who tries to hit the cross first time, comes off of Jay Bolt. Now, play that second ball. A bit heavy there from Boehner. It is a throw in for Charleston as it came off him last.
Some good defending there from Charleston. They're 2 blocks of 4 very close together, denying space around the box, defending very deep, which is more popular these days than ever before. You defend deep and then you try and counter-attack, so denying St. Louis any space to play in, which is very similar to what Memphis did midweek. Also in a very, very deep block, especially after they had their man sent off. And St. Louis couldn't break them down. Let's wait and see if they can break Charleston down here this evening.
See, that creative spark could be this man that provides it. Cicerone can charge on his left-footed attempt. Is hit with power, but blazing over that fence onto that adjacent pitch, and Cicerone has a go.
Yeah, it's a good strike in terms of the power. It's not a good strike in terms of accuracy. As I've said a number of times, I'd always rather see the ball go towards the keeper and at least make the keeper do something. Now, a lot of players try and stick it in the top corner. You don't always have to, just aim for the keeper. I've seen enough keepers make terrible errors, balls through their legs, and they misjudge it. So that one goes flying harmlessly wide. And Cicerone was in such good form earlier in the season. Just wonder if he can just get 1 goal, whether that form would return.
Header run by Kavita. Fields for a free kick against Charleston when Vlastos went up for the header. This is a player who did start in the U.S. Open Cup, the away match at Des Moines Menace in the second round. As it's given away there by Kuzminski in goal, straight to Kadeem Dakers on the throw. Interchanging with Hilton Dakers. These are the areas that Anthony Pulis was frustrated with on Tuesday night. Now Dakers onto his left, having a strike. It took a deflection on the way through, and Kuzminski down to his right. Straightforward save for him.
Straightforward save, but nonetheless good hands from the goalkeeper. Make sure it doesn't spill and bounce out. Dakers with the effort. Now at least this one's on target and it forces the keeper into a save. It might even have taken a slight deflection on the way, so credit to the goalkeeper Joe Kuzminski for making sure that it looks a nice simple one, and with it he hits a decent ball forward. Header
from Svantesson as the second ball is recovered by Charleston, now through Van Schaik. Cross into the penalty area towards Svantesson. Now Cicerone. Turned away from multiple defenders and eventually warding off the challenge of O'Brien Woodbine. Turning into the team after being unavailable for selection last weekend. His 7th season with Charleston. One of a few players that's been around this club for a long time. Led by Taylor Mueller. His 8th season with the club. I think we don't see very often in USL players sticking around with one club for a long time.
They seem to move a hell of a lot at the end of each season. There's a wholesale moves everywhere. See Cicerone again. What can he do?
Cutting onto his right and trying to interchange here with Hilton. This is lovely football. Hilton's left-footed effort. Cicerone, Greg, and Hilton in a triangle around that penalty area. And Hilton's effort coming harmlessly for Kuzminski.
Yeah. Once again, it's on target. Once again, not well struck. The keeper doesn't have too much problem there getting the ball. Again, he had to hold on to it because Cicerone was following in. So I think a little bit of credit to the keeper for making it look as simple as it was. But at least it's a positive sign from St. Louis. And I'm sure Anthony Pulis has sat them down after the Memphis draw and said, right, guys, we need to put more pressure on goalkeepers. I don't mind if you shoot and the keeper saves it. At least let's work their goalkeeper. And every once in a while, you'll connect with it perfectly and it'll fly in the back of the net. So from the home side's perspective, a decent start to this match.
You're very much correct about that, telling the local press that is the team's urgency, decision-making, and execution nowhere near the level they needed in order to win on Tuesday night. And also said he was furious after the match, probably as angry as I've ever been in my time at St. Louis, for the fact they weren't able to even really come close to breaking down 10-man Memphis.
In fact, as he mentioned to us midweek, he said that we were better against 11, as we see Anthony Pulis say. He says better against 11 in Memphis than 10. He said credit to them, they made it difficult, but as you say, his anger is that in theory you should be better against 10 men. It doesn't always work out that way. They up their game, you take it easy because you think you've got the extra player. But certainly at home for St. Louis, that was a match they had to win and they didn't, and it's just put them under more pressure for this match, and against the Charleston side who themselves want to get victory. So this is a really crucial game and one I've been so looking forward to because there's so much at stake.
Kavita came charging out, and Reynolds with a backwards header to no one in particular, charging onto in Candela, trying to get turned, flying through with the strike. Nico Rittmeyer takes a deflection. And now here's Woodbine to measure the cross, and it's a diving header on there from Candela, wide of target. He was offside anyway. But again, Woodbine, the right back, coming forward and delivering well in the penalty area.
Good pressure there from Candela in the first place. It's a lovely ball in from the right full back. Woodbine and the header, yeah, it's a little bit off target, but that man Candela started it by the pressurizing, by the running at the defense and causing all sorts of problems. Just a reminder to St. Louis that this is a very good Charleston side. And this is not going to be an easy game yet again for Thomas Gomez and company.
St. Louis still without some key contributors, players like Audi Jepson, Joaquin Rivas, Oscar Umar out due to suspension, Guy Bend, Albert Dikwa, Matt Thomas, all players they've either brought in ahead of the year or have had since last year that are unavailable due to injury.
But isn't that true of almost every side at this stage of the season? And it's a fair point you make. Those are really crucial players, but I think every team will give you a list of players that have been missing or circumstances, and that's why it's a squad game. It's a game in which you need players to come in and make a difference. And you look at Michi Vlastos at 19 years of age. Can he make a difference? Can he do something extra special here today? You look at Svantesson, 25. Can he do something up front? He didn't play in the match against Tampa. Can he come in and change things?
And the strike coming in from Zico. Lewis wasn't far away. Gomez diving there, but I don't think he would have had that covered if it was just a bit further to the right from Lewis. Not a bad strike.
It's a very good strike. Have a look at this. His awareness of where the goal is, a little glance just to make sure that is not far off. And no wonder he scored 6 in 17 games. A great return. That's why, because he can really find the target or get very close. If I was Thomas Gomez, I think I'd be pointing to a few of my defenders and saying, make sure he doesn't shoot again because he's a bit special.
player who is a regular feature for the Bermuda national team. Qualified for the Gold Cup for the first time. Started all 3 of their matches. A few players with English heritage choosing to play for Bermuda. To the rise in national performance. Of the CONCACAF Nations League, offering those so-called minnows an opportunity to play some competitive matches and even win a few, and players like Zico Lewis a chance to feature at international level.
It's a wonderful system now that involves them, and same in Europe. All these smaller teams get to play so many more games against teams of their own sort of stature, which makes it a lot more exciting. Great competition, great for the area. And wish the likes of Bermuda and Zico Lewis lots of luck when they do play for their country.
Chested down by Vlastos, who slides it in for Camden Feo. His cross is towards that back post. Daker's going to try and win the header, and it's out for the goal kick, and Daker's feeling ill effects of going for that header.
I think he clashed heads against the back of the big defender, and yep, he's up, he's all right. He's just a little bit stunned. Good ball in, a little bit too much height on the ball, so it hangs long and it gives the defender time to come back into. Daker's there. But every time you put balls into the box, you've always got that chance of something getting knocked down. And again, decent pressure applied by St. Louis, and good defending from Charleston Battery.
We'll keep up to date with other scores from around the USL Championship Eastern Conference. One final from earlier today. New York Red Bulls 2, another victory over Hartford Athletic. By a big scoreline, as now Cicerone can charge on here for St. Louis again. He's trying to cause some problems to touch around multiple defenders, gets on the back end of it. Cicerone now just to get turned. Assessing his options. Just looking for one, peels it back for Vlastos, who gets the touch to it. Here's Vlastos' strike! Just wide of that far post. It was a good effort from Vlastos, but Cicerone causing all the problems again.
Cicerone, some great touches, and then he sort of dribbled himself into a circle. He didn't know quite where to go, but he has the ability to find a bit of space, head up, sees Vlastos, puts the ball into him. Vlastos gets there first. This is a good strike. It's not too far off, and I think Kuzminski was only delighted to see that ball whisk past his post. Good strike from Vlastos. Good effort there from the home side.
On header there from Svantesson by Kavita. Now Vlastos again. Daker should try and get turned. See Cicerone wants the ball tonight. He's playing with confidence as he comes together there with Woodbine. Wanting a free kick there, Anthony Pulis. As you mentioned before, New York Red Bulls 2, another victory. They've won by 5-1 over Hartford Athletic. They were 1-0 down after an hour. And in the final 28 minutes of the match, put 5 past Hartford.
Wow.
Another win that sends them towards the top of the Eastern Conference table.
Wow, that's a blow for Hartford, where if you're leading 1-0 up until that moment and suddenly end up losing 5-1. It's a bit of a blow to the confidence, but it is New York Red Bulls. They've, what was it, Atlanta, they put 8 past recently. I mean, they've had some huge victories. They're a wonderfully talented side, and so many players who we've said before will almost certainly end up playing at MLS level.
Header one there by Fink in midfield. And now here comes Cicerone charging through. See Mueller there wearing the mask. To the rescue. Put that tackle in. As Kavita able to just shoulder Zico Lewis off the ball.
It started as a shoulder, ended up as a push. I thought, didn't think Kavita was anywhere near the ball at the end. And anyway, referee doesn't see a problem in it.
Talked plenty about these two sides nearing the playoff line and waiting for that team to climb up the table and causing some problems. And right now it looks like it's going to be Birmingham Legion. We're only 2 points off of St. Louis at the start of the night, but right now they're winning away from home against Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Wow.
By a goal to nil. Edward Opoku with the goal there. It would be level on points with St. Louis, would actually send them below the playoff line as it stands right now. On the match's one tiebreaker, and only 1 point off of Charleston battery. Of course, that table presuming a draw here between Charleston and St. Louis.
I think we've been saying for a while, especially with St. Louis, that you can't keep losing. I know they haven't meant to. I know they've had a wonderful cup run, but at some point, if you keep losing, you will drop out of those playoff places.
As Camden Fewo sends the crossing towards that back post, arriving Dakers, and caught there by Kuzminski on the follow. A good bit of service from that left-hand side. Camden Fewo off a solid performance against Memphis.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent against Memphis, Bradley Camden Fewo. So many good balls played in from that left-hand side. Matt Boehner wasn't too bad from the right as well. He put in a few. And that's where most of the threats came from for St. Louis. But for Charleston, you're right. They're going to have to be careful as well, with Charlotte, Birmingham, and Bethlehem all just a few points behind, and a good run from any of them. And either of these two teams could find themselves out of the playoff positions. As we said, for both of them, when you've got a long run of form, Charleston 1 win in 7, St. Louis 1 win in 9. Eventually the others will catch you. So again, this match is so critical to both clubs, especially if the results go against them this evening with those teams around them.
And we will keep an eye on that Tampa Bay Birmingham match. Incredible 5-0 winners away from home against Charleston, one of the big-time clubs in USL, and then the following week losing at home by a 0-0 to an expansion Birmingham side.
I think the second point to mention about the league positions is both these teams we're watching here are at least sort of 7 or 8 points behind Ottawa in 8th. So they're not going to drag anybody else into trouble unless they get a really good run. So everyone below them is looking at them and going, well, these two are catchable. Ottawa and above isn't catchable. And that's why the pressure is on both of these teams to get as many points as they can.
Cicerone now to charge forward here for St. Louis. Again, trying to work around multiple defenders. Sliding it in here for the strike of Matt Boehner. Off the crossbar and out for the goal kick. Only the frame of the goal denying the St. Louis right back.
That's a great strike from Matt Boehner. Absolutely, he's looking up saying, if it had just been a couple of inches lower, it might have hit the back of the net. Cicerone does all the hard work. Boehner has an effort. Just wondering if Kuzminski had that covered enough that it wouldn't have dropped in. Hard to say because he's such a big goalkeeper. It's difficult to get it above him. But once again, Cicerone causing so many problems. He's running at the defense. They're having to be very careful not to stick a foot out and give away a penalty or a free kick. And he's causing havoc there with no end product as yet. But certainly he has been the main thrust of the attacks for St. Louis in the match so far.
And looked for a moment like it was going to be kept in play by the assistant. In the end, the flag up for a throw into St. Louis. And Anthony Pulis is not the type to single players out, but he talks about urgency, decision-making, and execution nowhere near what we needed. Could Cicerone have been partially at fault for that on Tuesday night?
Possibly, but he also picked him out as having created some chances, which at least he was happy with. He says, as long as you're making chances, you're doing the right thing. You might not have taken them, Cicerone, but he made them. But certainly this evening, he's looked sharp, he's looked quick, he's looked positive. He's looked like the play he was earlier in the season, and that's what's been missing from St. Louis. A few players have lost that great form they had early on, and Cicerone was certainly one of those who I thought was brilliant in the first half of the season.
And here is Cicerone for St. Louis FC around Woodbine, but not unable to work his way around Rittmeyer, who gets it clear off of Cicerone for the goal kick.
And you've got to say, for all the huffing and puffing from St. Louis, it's Charleston who are looking at this going, well, 0-0. We haven't really been under too much pressure. The keepers just had some straightforward saves to make. I don't feel that they've done a good job so far in stopping St. Louis from getting a goal. The only problem is they haven't created too many chances themselves.
Their upcoming fixtures as well for St. Louis. 2 matches away. Next up at Indy 11, who are still a top side in the Eastern Conference. It just doesn't look that way on the table because they have games to play. As Vlastos tries to get it across, Fink having to head. A bit further forward than we're accustomed to seeing Sam Fink. Now Dakers. Tackle in from Bolt. Could still come for Dakers. Needs to press onto it now. Hilton. St. Louis flying forward in numbers, but calmly played out Here's Rittmeyer. Reynolds trying to win with his chest, but comes straight for Savannah, Georgia native on this right-hand side. As it's given away, you see Rittmeyer's frustration with that. He now has to track back. Hilton and Boehner changing there.
Good control of the ball here from St. Louis. You just get the sense that they're getting a little bit too much of the ball. If you're a Charleston fan, you'd be saying, we can't let them control the match too much. They're more comfortable on the ball. You've got to run that much more if you're in a white shirt. So you want to try and get that ball back and control it yourself. And it has been mostly St. Louis in this first half who've had the ball at their feet.
Here's Fink. Sliding it towards Kyle Gregg. Shoulder off it. Strong tackle in there from Anunga. Play on, says the referee. Now Rittmeyer trying to poke around Camden Fewo, who slowed him down. Free kick to Charleston. Perhaps further discipline required?
It's borderline. You'll be very careful there if you're Camden Fewo. Yeah, he's going to get a word from the referee. He's lucky he's not going to get a card. Not that there was any nastiness in it, but I think he just more than gets his body in the way. Yeah, he's an arm out. You see, that's the danger. It's one thing in the body, but the moment you lift your arm out towards the player passing you, you're going to get Mr. Malik Badawi's attention. And you might even get his yellow card if you're not careful. There's a confirmation of the possession, by the way, 2/3, 1/3 more or less. That means if you're a Charleston battery player, you've been doing a lot of running and chasing to try and get this ball.
So struggling to keep possession. Dakers actually one touch too heavy. He's shouldered out of play. The referee says play on.
Difficult to say, but his linesman was right there and the linesman didn't flag, so I guess they saw nothing wrong with it. Fair shoulder to shoulder, they conclude.
Strong in there from Leland Archer. Even when a player ends up in the advertising hoarding, it's not a good sign about the tackle, but
you always worry that they get an injury because some of those hoardings on the side are solid, and if you hit them at the wrong angle with too much pace, you can do yourself a serious injury. So I think for a moment, all St. Louis fans were holding their breath to make sure there was no injury to one of their star players.
Great to see these stands full on a Saturday night. Fenton West Community Stadium. St. Louligans in the corner. They just for something to cheer about at the moment. 120 minutes of football they've seen at this ground without seeing a goal.
They're a bit quieter than normal, aren't they? And there's normally a good singing in the background, the drums are thumping. Can't hear too much at the moment, but you're right, there hasn't been too much to get excited about. You need goals, all games need goals, and this game needs one as well. And if you're a St. Louis fan, obviously you want it for your side. If you're Charleston, you want it for yours, but either way, a goal just always brings a match to life, and it forces the opposition then to come out a little bit more and take some risks.
Electrical Connection has partnered with St. Louis FC to create a limited edition jersey flag. Flags are only $10 in the fan shop, with all revenue benefiting the Shop with the Comp program. Sam Fink over the top for Lewis Hilton, who's been given license to play a bit further forward tonight, with Reynolds as the holder, allowing Hilton to get forward alongside Vlastos. Throwing for Matt Boehner to take. The ball in these areas just needing the cutting edge. St. Louis been missing all week, and there the poor touch from Dakers is out for the goal kick.
You're right, it needs that final touch. They've had enough efforts around goals. You know, Cicerone's had a few, Dakers, Lewis Hilton had a shot, Vlastos had a shot just wide. Matt Boehner hit the crossbar, so it's those last two I've mentioned. Vlastos was inches wide with his, Matt Boehner hits the crossbar. So they've had those chances, just haven't gone in. And for Charleston, just the one really from Zico Lewis, which wasn't too far away either. So you can say 4 or 5 chances for St. Louis, just the one for Charleston. But it needs that little bit of extra quality to make sure it hits the back of the net, and we haven't seen that from either side as yet.
for St. Louis. It's only one loss at home this year. Perhaps a few too many draws. 4 wins, 4 draws at the ground.
Yeah, draws are not going to be enough. This stage of the season, both these teams need wins. And you mentioned St. Louis away at Indy 11 next. Well, that's not going to be easy. So at home, you've got to get 3 points. If you can get 1 point away from home, good result. At home, 3 points is an absolute must. And you're right, too many draws at home for St. Louis.
Now Dakers hanging off with the Reynolds. Decent from a distribution point of view. Now Vlastos assessing his options. Eventually running into a few too many defenders as Fink will now hit the ball towards this left-hand side and over hits it towards Camden Fayewo for a Charleston throw-in.
Something that Anthony Pulis was talking about when we spoke to him midweek after the loss, and there he is that he wanted his team to switch play. And not just once, you switch it once, you drag the defense across and you switch it back again. That was an attempt at a cross-field pass a few minutes ago. It wasn't the best attempt, but that's the thinking behind it.
Candela. And Scheik having his service cut out. Charleston with a run of possession. Frequently seen run of possession in this match. We showed you the possession figures earlier. Very much favoring St. Louis's. Zico Lewis with a nice ball in. It's across the face of goal. Overhead kick attempted and punched over the bar from Svantesson. Gomez had to track the whole way, but a solid effort there from Ian Svantesson.
It was. Good pass coming in from Rittmeyer here. And Svantesson's got his back to goals. That's not a bad effort at all. Yes, the keeper touches it over quite easily in the end because it's at the keeper. But still great athleticism from the big man to get that overhead kick on target.
The Orlando, Florida native in his second season with Charleston scored 4 times a year ago. Already on 4 this year. As now Lewis is over the corner towards that near post. Sort of awkwardly off of Cicerone for another corner.
Quite sure what Cicerone was doing there. That you would think he would have hooked it away from trouble. Instead, he's given them back a corner. Let's hope that they don't get punished, because if he gave away an unnecessary corner, you can be sure the rest of the team are going to ask him what he was doing at the break.
It is an Electro savings corner for Charleston once more. Referee just stopping play for a moment to sort things out. Lewis again to measure it. This time he'll leave it short here with O'Brien Woodbine, who returns for Lewis, unmarked. Now again across that penalty area. It's a good ball in from Van Schaik. It's the opening goal for Charleston. Against the run of play, Jared Van Schaik with his 3rd goal of the year. It's a sucker punch from Charleston Battery. It's St. Louis 0, Charleston 1.
What a great finish. I didn't think he had much of an angle there. He's back to the goal. Have a look. The ball comes in here. Nice little bit of play from Woodbine. He waits, he just slots the ball back there for Lewis to put it across. Now have a look here as it comes back, and he hooks it around him. Not overhead kick, but like a hook to the left-hand side. But the accuracy was absolutely perfect in the corner. Thomas Gomez can't get across, and they're 1-0 up. They haven't had too many chances, Charleston, but they've put one away. And what a good lead they now have, Charleston Battery, as they look to try and cement their place in the playoff positions.
Well taken, as you said, almost acrobatically by Van Schaik.
It wasn't an overhead kick, was it? It was sort of a hook kick, if you can call it that. But when you stick it with enough force right into the corner, and I'm not sure Thomas Gomez could see everything clearly, lots of bodies in front of him. He might have been a split second late to react because he couldn't see. Next thing you know, it's rippling in the back of the net.
The frustration mounts as well for St. Louis. Is now in again through Rittmeyer, trying to get the cross in. Sliding intervention from Camden Fayewo slows down the cross. Handled by Gomez. But St. Louis finding themselves a goal down at home with work to do.
And getting caught in the counter-attack there as well. So very sharp up front. Charleston there. Get the goal. They look sharp again with Rittmeyer. I just wonder, what is it about St. Louis? They could start the season off so well. They can have the most fabulous cup run that takes them all the way to the quarterfinals. And against Atlanta United, they were 1-0 down with a minute left, and then only then did they concede the second. And since that cup run started, their league form has been woeful, and it seems to continue.
It's 1 win, 5 draws, and 6 losses in the last 12 in USL. So only 8 points in that period. It dates all the way back to the start of May.
Wow. And that's from 12 games, that's 36 points. You're picking up 8. I mean, that's in European football would be called relegation form. We haven't got relegation here, but that's the sort of thing that happens. You disappear out the league if you play like that. And yet they were so good early on in the season. And we've asked Anthony Pulis this a few times. What's the difference? He can't figure it out. He's been doing the same things. He's been pushing the players. So one of those strange things that happens in soccer, where you lose your sort of mentality, winning mentality, and you just can't get it back.
You can definitely start with defense as well, because start of the season, he hardly shipped any goals. Keeping clean sheets as if it were easy, as it's in behind here for Camden Faywa to pick out a cross. Good height on it. Headed away there by Archer.
Yep, certainly is true. If you keep clean sheets, you give your strikers every chance of winning the game for you. But it's not just the defense that isn't as good. Up front, they're not as sharp.
Camden Faywa again in the penalty area towards Greg. A few more decent crosses in there from the St. Louis left back, but not enough of a response in the middle. Just a bit too much space to afford the St. Louis left back.
They can certainly cause trouble, but talking of space, look how little space there is as Charleston drop deep. Look how they are. 2 banks of 4 are only, what, 5, 6, 7 yards apart. There's no space to play in. And Camden Faywa decides not even to cross the ball because he just can't see who to get it to. And this is where Cicerone was so important early on. He was running at the defense, creating space. Right now, there's no space. It's all been blocked up, unless this is a decent ball.
Disorganizing the defense there as the crosses again in towards Dakers. Header through that penalty area from Boehner as Greg was crashing in. Kuzminski handling it.
Good handling by the goalkeeper, Kuzminski. Never easy when you've got players running in. You're not quite sure if they're going to kick you in the head, what they're going to do. You've got to keep your eye on the ball. Boehner does so well to put it back in the danger area. Kuzminski holds on. Carl Gregg there just trying to avoid standing on the goalkeeper.
Svantesson chesting down for Zico Lewis. Could go it alone here, Zico. And one back by St. Louis. No, Boehner trying to let it run there for Reynolds. Dispossessing Lewis. Touch around the defender. Now Rittmeyer can continue his run, and that's exactly what Lewis wanted him to do. The central defenders had retreated. If he continued his run, he would have been onside, excuse me. Miscommunication, and out for the goal kick. In terms of the tempo from St. Louis, is it quick enough to disorganize Charleston?
It was early on, especially when Cicerone was making his runs. They just seemed to have lost control of the game. About 10 minutes ago, we were saying how much control they had. Since then, Charleston's come into it. They look more comfortable on the ball. They're the ones creating the opportunities. And I'm just looking at the bench for St. Louis, the likes of Caleb Calvert, Master Cachet, and thinking, could they come on and make a difference?
I think you just heard as well, Russell Cicerone, our pitchside microphones caught him saying, come on with some urgency.
Also got Colin Fernandez, and that's more, maybe the urgency is needed in the midfield to get the ball up to the front runners.
And Dakers to try and slide him behind towards Greg, dealt with again by Leland Archer. Played at the College of Charleston, playing at Charleston's pro football club. Dakers play the 1-2 instead. Hilton lays off here with the Reynolds, who's drifted out wide. Now Vlastos receiving and turning and spraying towards Cicerone, who does about enough to keep it. Now spinning away from it is the tug coming in there from Woodbine. Now Camden Faywa to get the better of Rittmeyer. Turns on it, leaves with Cicerone. Sees man approaching, now plays the 1-2 with Hilton. Taking the space, Hilton trying to send it through that area. It's a decent low ball in there with his left. Cut out though by Charleston. One back by St. Louis. Just a bit more like it. Vlasto's back with Kavita.
Yeah, they've got all this possession up until about this point, and then the white shirts started pairing, and they're blocking all the space.
Hilton trying to carve out a window to shoot. The bending effort, but too high in the end.
Yeah, not hitting target. As we always say, if you don't hit target, you can't score. But at least he's having an effort. I just wonder if Michael Anhauser and his coaching staff watched that Memphis game and thought, you know what, Memphis defended deep and St. Louis couldn't find a way through. Maybe we'll do the same. Maybe we'll drop as deep as we possibly can, because it was frustrating for St. Louis against Memphis. And they couldn't thread the ball through, and they haven't been able to this half as well. There's just something missing from that midfield that just can't find the gaps, or maybe there's not enough speed up front. There's just something missing that has made it reasonably comfortable for Charleston, which it shouldn't be. At St. Louis's home pitch, early in the season, you would have got hammered by now.
Nice first time ball in behind towards Vantasen, who sends it through that area. No one making the run. Good work there from the number 9 for Charleston, who's had a good performance even while starved of service.
Yeah, he has been decent up front, no question about that. One lovely overhead kick, which for a big man is superb. We see 1 minute of added time.
Stoppage time is presented by Paycor. Need more time in your business? Contact Paycor at the end of your payroll and human resource needs. As he switches it towards Cicerone. Takes it first time. Still on to it, Cicerone. Away there from Anunga, only as far as Reynolds. Now Hilton. Behind there from Cicerone. Tries to dink towards Greg. Powerfully away there by Van Schaik. Reynolds. Anthony Pulis saying Bradley Cantanfeo's got to get in his position. And there is the halftime whistle. St. Louis with all of the ball, but Charleston with the lead from the corner. Zico Lewis's cross coming to Jared Van Schaik, who turns on it exceptionally, almost 270 degrees, and finding that bottom corner, taking it out of the air, and giving Charleston Battery the 1-0 lead at halftime. And it was a solid performance from Charleston, dogged defensively, and in the end striking from the corner. Halftime is sponsored by Electrical Connection. Your score at the break: it is St. Louis FC 0, Charleston Battery 1.
The excitement that is sweeping the nation has arrived in St. Louis.
A goal! It's Cicerone!
Fans are loving the authentic soccer experience. Tailgating, cheering, chanting, and much more. It's a party you won't want to miss.
Goal! St. Louis FC! Hit a goal!
Get your tickets at stlouisfc.com.
Boy.
Junior programs, basically, there's two sides of it. There's a rec side and there's a select side. And basically, it's for ages 2 to 12.
So you start off by doing a little bit of a warm-up.
It's a developmental, kind of want to introduce the players to the game and kind of all in a fun environment and create a positive experience.
Our staff is first class, our facilities first class, and it's really a first class program.
Your score at Electrical Connection halftime: St. Louis FC 0, Charleston Battery 1. Jared Van Schaik with the game's only goal. From Vancouver, British Columbia to Croatia, and from Eastern Europe to the United States, Paris G has found a home in St. Louis. He is the subject of tonight's edition of Behind the Shield.
Paris G's a cool name. It's like a spy's name or something.
Yeah. I always like to think it's from like Greek mythology, but I don't think that's the case. When I was little, I did karate for a little bit. That didn't last too long. I think I had just too much energy, and that stuff was pretty mellow. Other than soccer, all I did was just mountain bike and snowboard. In high school, I was on a snowboard race team. So that was pretty exciting. All my friends in high school were on it, so we went on trips on the weekend, and yeah, it was good. I think in the back of my mind as a kid, I always knew I was going to be a pro. I always thought about it. It was always in the back of my head, and it was just on how I was going to get there. By the age of 11 and 12 is when it kind of separated from, like, say, the first team, second teams, and third teams. You know, the coaches then really believed in me, and I think that's when I started playing right back, like right when I was 11 years old. My freshman year with college, and then in the spring season, since we weren't playing, we had to join a men's team, a local men's team, and that's where I met my coach, my mentor, Johnny Salentic, who really pushed me and believed in me and taught me so many things technically, and that was when he started to push me over to go play professionally in Croatia. It wasn't easy. I really had to get my parents on board. My dad and my mom really wanted me to stay in school, but I talked to them so much, and I was like, just let me go.
Some people go over to Europe and have really good experiences. Some don't, because it is completely different to the States. But I think the players that do go, they get good coaching, but it's a completely different perspective for them. And maybe Paris went there at a good time in his career when he was still really young, and he picked up certain things and learned, and has probably helped mold him into the player that he is today.
Paris G out top, gives it a go, and Tulsa Roughnecks FC on a strike from the midfielder, Paris G.
I was in Tulsa for 2 years. Definitely learned a lot more when I was in Croatia, but getting used to the league and the style of play here, that definitely helped me over the 2 years to get accustomed to it here.
What was it about St. Louis? What made you say, you know what, I'm going to give that a shot?
I think it was Ant and the organization and how I saw them in the last few seasons. It really pushed me to come over here. The quality of players that I was going to be around and the quality of coaching, because obviously I still want to grow as a player, and coming to this type of environment will definitely help that. My name is Paris G, and I'm a professional footballer.
Fortune can hit from here. Oh! McCarthy once more. Blacked it back in, and it's a goal for North Carolina FC. Big shot, and he scored. And Ben Spees lets one fly and drills it. Fit in with Bethlehem and really Philadelphia. Prater lofting, header snap in. New Mexico to run away with it. We have stealing it now. The ball. Fortune can hit from here. And how about North Carolina FC?
Cooper gets the return ball. Now Chavez to have a goal! What a strike from Ivan Chavez! Some of the best from around USL Championship there. Your score at Electrical Connection halftime is St. Louis FC 0 and a Jared Van Scheidt goal for Charleston Battery 1. Charleston trying to carry this lead into the second half, and they'll do a lot of defending, but they've done it solidly so far. As we now take you around some of the best of the USL Championship, some news and notes from around the league. Phoenix Rising going for 13 in a row tonight. It's 36 points from their last available 36. They try and make it 13 in a row against El Paso tonight.
Absolutely brilliant. What a team. And it was a slow start to the season, wasn't it? You thought, oh, hang on a second, are they in trouble after a wonderful season last year? And then they hit this streak. And last time out, they were 2-0 down away at LA Galaxy 2 and came back to win 3-2. Now, when you're 2-0 down away from home and you win 3-2, that's class.
And also speaking of El Paso, their local ownership donating $150,000 to the fund for the victims of the tragic shooting that happened at the Walmart in El Paso. The team will wear El Paso Strong kits tonight. Great to see there as you have a look at the upcoming schedule in USL. 2 matches to play tomorrow. One in the Eastern Conference is Louisville City, the champions, take on Atlanta United 2. And then New Mexico United will pay a visit to Portland Timbers before Wednesday night Eastern Conference matches featuring Charleston Battery in midweek action against Loudoun United.
Yeah, well, the Charleston will hope to get 3 points from as they look to cement their place in the top 10. And New York Red Bulls, that's going to be tough at Pittsburgh. And Louisville, by the way, they've been having a sort of a strange season by their normally very high standards. So looking forward to seeing how they fare tomorrow night.
And if you have a look here at the live table, St. Louis dropping out of your picture with Birmingham Legion. In the end, they're in second half stoppage time. They're up by a 0 on Tampa Bay Rowdies. And Charleston, with the winning result, would climb to 9th. And there you see closing that gap with Ottawa Fury with a game in hand.
Yep, that game in hand absolutely vital, but for St. Louis, big trouble, dropping out of that top 10 when at one stage they were in sort of 3rd or 4th position, and they've got some tough games, including Indy 11 coming up. They might struggle to get back in this top 10, St. Louis, so the second half becomes absolutely crucial for the home side.
And we have it coming up next. First half highlights, second half kickoff on the way. Your score at Electrical Connection halftime, St. Louis 0, Charleston 1.
The excitement that is sweeping the nation has arrived in St. Louis.
A goal! It's Cicerone!
Fans are loving the authentic soccer experience. Tailgating, cheering, chanting, and much more. It's a party you won't want to miss.
Goal! St. Louis FC! Hit a goal!
Get your tickets at stlouisfc.com.
With the opposite foot, and then when I say make it bigger, it just means get a bigger V. I think it's really important that they get feedback on what they're doing correctly and what they could do better. Letting them get the repetitions over and over and over again and making sure they're doing it right. Powerful locked ankle touch with the inside part of your foot. This is my opportunity to help them get better and teach them. And that's what I spend most of my time during training focused on, is improving that overall technique.
Your score at Electrical Connection halftime, St. Louis FC 0, Charleston Battery 1. We're going to bring you our halftime highlights, which are brought to you in part by Maryville University. Score the winning goal at Maryville with personalized education, nationally ranked academics, and Division II athletics. Learn more at maryville.edu. St. Louis will create some chances, lovely 1-2s, but Lewis Hilton's effort not exactly troubling Joe Kuzminski in goal.
No, it's a good idea, but doesn't quite connect to probably Cicerone causing all sorts of problems there. And then this is a different Lewis, just shooting wide. Absolutely brilliant from Zico. Lewis, not too far away. And Cicerone again, the person who creates the problems. Matt Boehner hits the crossbar, although you might think the keeper had it covered, not 100% sure. Is this the big moment? Lewis crosses it. Oh no, this is before that. This is the overhead kick from the big man, Svanteson. How does he do this? What is he, 6'15" or something, and he still manages that?
That'd be 7'3". As the ball is slid in there by Woodbine, across penalty area from Lewis, and there's the take from Van Schaik. It's a tremendous, on the almost 3/4 turn, getting all the way around and putting it past Gomez.
Yeah, he puts it right in the corner, gets enough power in it to beat the goalkeeper. It might have been just a touch onside, a great awareness, great skill. I think you can see Sam Fink there saying, come on guys, we're right behind the 8 ball here. We're dropping out of the playoff group of the top 10 as it stands. We're 1-0 down at home. We've really got to turn this around against a very good Charleston Battery side. What a crucial next 45 minutes for St. Louis in particular.
Yeah, fairly extraordinary result in Tampa Bay as Birmingham Legion have beaten Tampa Bay Rowdies by 1-0. Rowdies came into the weekend top of the table, but now that belongs to New York Red Bulls too, after they won by 5-1 earlier today. And Birmingham get the goal through Edward Opoku. They now have them above St. Louis, and St. Louis below the playoff line. St. Louis would have one game in hand, but this to be 3 or 4 that you could say, all right, there's potential for them to win matches and climb up the table, but that's starting to evaporate.
It certainly is. You look back at that wonderful cup run, and we often say at the time, do you really need the cup run? It takes your focus off the league. I just wonder now if St. Louis would have traded that cup run for a load more points in the league. Difficult to say.
I'm still a big believer in those nights out are more than some draws away from home or some league matches. As we're underway here in the second half, St. Louis trailing by 1-0 and will have the impetus to try and turn this result around. At the moment, it looks unchanged for the home side.
Yeah, I think they've got their eyes on maybe Cachet to come in at some stage. They've also got Calvert as another option up front.
Even Paris G is an attacking fullback.
Could do.
Getting forward.
Could do. I think those are all the options for Anthony Pulis, but he's probably going to give it 10-15 minutes just to see how the game pans out and whether his current 11 can get the breakthrough against Charleston. If not, then I'm sure he's going to make a couple of changes.
And for Charleston as well, to try and surge towards that top 6, which is that cutoff line for being in the first round of the postseason. It's hard to crack right now. North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Indy in behind Nashville, Tampa Bay, and New York Red Bulls too, all getting positive results. Making that line difficult to reach. So at the moment, it would look like Charleston would be in that preliminary round of the playoffs as Van Schaik did the cross into the penalty area, chested down by Svanteson. His layoff a bit too heavy. There could be one here by Candela in midfield. Referee waving play on there.
Some nice football there from Charleston for a moment, where they built that attack up, the lovely balls threaded through, and they look like they're really feeling good about themselves and confident. That 5-0 thumping by Tampa Bay Rowdies, hopefully for them a distant memory, and maybe looking at their first clean sheet in 13, as we mentioned at the start of the game. The last clean sheet was 13 matches ago against St. Louis.
St. Louis avoiding that fate happening twice, at least attempting to in the second half. It's a free kick won by Kyle Gregg, shove in the back. We have a free kick opportunity here for St. Louis FC.
You don't want to be doing this to St. Louis. They're always good on free kicks around the edge of the box. Sam Fink's got on the end of 1 or 2 this season. Kyle Gregg, as always, is a great header of the ball. Seems to be a big discussion going on between both sides as they figure out what's going to happen next. The referee's deciding to walk the 10 yards or not. He now says, yes, the ball stays. I will walk the 10 yards. And with that, all the white shirts start to move back behind that 10-yard line.
The vanishing spray needs a refresh.
It does, rather. It vanished before it hit the grass.
Not exactly drawing a line, the vanishing spray. Hilton and Camden Fewa over the free kick. It'll be Hilton who will strike towards that top corner. Kuzminski had it covered, but he spilled it momentarily. Charging in, trying to win it there, Cicerone, but Charleston keeper eventually claiming.
Yeah, the keeper's there, he reads it, just drops it, which, you know, you don't really want to do with people running in Kuzminski, but I think he just felt that he knew where he was dropping it. The idea was good from Lewis Hilton, but the goalkeeper reading it quite easily, and the chance goes a begging. Could he have maybe tried to chip one into the box and get a header? Easy to say after the event.
Now Ta Anunga. Bolt into the penalty area. Lewis trying to get onto it with his pace towards that byline. Shouldered off it by Reynolds. Goes into the advertising hoarding, and I think Lewis wants none of Reynolds' attempt to pick him up.
He's saying sorry there. I mean, yeah, it always hurts when you hit those boardings, and immediately you're sort of angry with the person who pushed you there, but a couple of seconds later it's all forgotten. Part of the game.
As Jay Bolt boots it away, Pulis might have been frustrated. Instead, he just wants another ball to get on with it.
He wants to keep that pressure, he wants that momentum and to build, and the pressure to build on Charleston, so he can at least get an equalizer for his side. He knows how good St. Louis can be on their home ground and how they can get into a really good groove and get that wonderful crowd behind them.
Minor adjustment you notice. It seems at the moment like Charleston are throwing 2 players whenever Cicerone is on the ball. He's not going to beat us as Fink tries to slide in behind. Greg with the layoff touch, but just a bit behind Cicerone. And clear.
As we said, first half, Cicerone was the main threat. In fact, 2 or 3 times he had some great runs at Charleston. So yeah, it would make sense to try and close him down. And Charleston employing that sort of deep-lying defense. They start off here at the halfway line and see if they can nick the ball, and slowly they'll retreat until eventually they're in their final third of the pitch. And it's very difficult to break down teams who defend like that.
Going to slide it behind there, Vlastos, but gives it away. Candela winning in central midfield. Now Reynolds is trying to come forward and poke it on. Now Vlastos coming forward here. Rittmeyer for Charleston on the counter attack, trying to beat Kavita for pace. Getting turned, laying off with Svantesson. Lovely ball for Van Schaik in the penalty area. Now Svantesson again, sliding in Candela, and it just ran too much, and Dakers could get it clear. And Charleston confident in the attack.
Yeah, some lovely football. I mean, it really is good touches and awareness, and they just seem to be growing in confidence. I guess you have to say that this can't be the same team that lost 5-0 to Tampa Bay. It certainly isn't with 5 changes, but it seems that they're too good to be beaten by that sort of a score. But yeah, we all have our off days, and we did mention early on that they had 1 game in 6 weeks for a variety of reasons. So Tampa Bay probably caught them cold, but this is a really good Charleston side we're seeing here, and it's coming at a time when St. Louis desperately need points. They need to get on top of a team, and they're battling to do it on their home ground, which has been an absolute fortress for them this season.
Candela bring it out for Bolt, who touches over Boehner. He can get on the other end of it. Now Jay Bolt in the penalty area. His cross. Did it come off of Boehner last? It did indeed. Actually, no, it did not. Will be a goal kick for Tomas Gomez.
It's very honest of Jay Bolt. He came back and sort of didn't even try to get the corner. He does well to get his body in front of Boehner. Kicks it straight out of touch for what should be a goal kick. The referee was debating whether to give him the corner. He just kept running back.
I think the referee almost took his cue there from Jay Bolt.
Yeah. Crucial moments here for St. Louis. Next 10 minutes, if they don't show more than this, I'm almost certain that Anthony Pulis will make some changes, and Cashier would be one of those he brings on, and maybe even Calvert, and say, right, you guys go and see if you can get us the goal that we so desperately need.
Ball laying off away from Archer. The West Community Stadium at Worldwide Technology Soccer Park, newly renamed. Here's Rittmeyer on this right-hand side for Charleston Battery. Lewis in a pocket of space. Rittmeyer never saw him as it crosses in towards Svantesson. Ran out for Boehner to clear. Lewis was unmarked in the penalty area.
Opportunities coming a little bit too quickly here for Charleston. That would be a worry to St. Louis. The fans don't care, though. These great fans come out every time. It is a little bit quieter than I have heard them in the past. Maybe the drums are missing, but they still sing constantly throughout the game. And what a pleasure to play in front of that sort of a fun crowd.
What happens if the drummer can't make it? There are other percussionists available to play the drums and keep the atmosphere in the ground going. They'd certainly do with a goal to get the atmosphere.
Do you think there's a substitute drummer?
a reserve drummer, yes, ready to go. You can see the fans sort of organically getting it started, and then supporters following along. As here's Lewis hanging on to his left and sliding it in towards the run of O'Brien Woodbine, who crosses in, and Gomez wasn't entirely sure about that one.
No, he wasn't. He got himself entangled with the post and the net and everything as he watched that go over his head. Woodbine, once again, good progress on that right-hand side. He's a real good attacking fullback. Thomas Gomez lucky he didn't palm that into his net. It really has been Charleston Battery who've come out at the start of the second half looking positive, creative, nice touches on the ball, confident, and it's St. Louis who are just battling to find their way.
Nunga getting legs tangled there with Greg. And all the way back for Fink.
Fink's got 3 penalties, I think it is, this season. And they came early in the season, and they came because players from St. Louis are running in the box, taking on defenders, causing problems. No penalties I can think of in the last sort of 10, 12 matches because they're not getting enough bodies in that box. They're not running at defenders and causing problems. Only Cicerone has been positive enough. Dacre's frustrated the ball is not past him. He hasn't done quite enough for me in this match either. Got to get that ball and run at defenders, put them on the back foot, make them make tackles and concede penalties. Being lectured about drinking on the pitch, you can't do that.
I didn't know you couldn't do that.
Well, then you'd have bottles on the pitch and all sorts going on. I think you have to exit the pitch to do that,
okay,
or wait for a water break. Sminsky hasn't been worked that hard that he needs too much fluids, which again is an issue that St. Louis will be concerned about. He's made some decent saves, but ones you would expect him to make. Hasn't been tested too much, the big goalkeeper.
Here's Anunga. Here's Bolt. There you see getting ready to come on Colin Fernandez for St. Louis FC, and he will come on for Nishi Vlastos. So the 19-year-old's first league start ends after 56 minutes, and that substitution is brought to you by Cigna.
Well, as expected, he gave them 10 minutes, didn't get what he wanted out of it, and said, right, I'm going to start making changes, and this will be the first of a number of changes. I don't think it'll be the last one unless they get back into this match. I think there's every chance that we'll see the likes of Master Kasher in the next 10-15 minutes or so.
Caleb Calvert as well could come on.
Yep, that's another option for him.
Awkward there between Reynolds and Fink. Nice away from Camden Fabo, trying to get it behind here, Dakers. And now Dakers to really cause some problems, booted away by Archer. Dakers still running. Getting over towards that corner, puts a shoulder in and wins the ball cleanly. The judgment of the referee. Laid off here with Cicerone. Right-footed delivery towards that near post. Again, Archer having to deal. Zico Lewis. Reynolds sticks his head in. A little bravery shown there. He's put in a shifted central midfield. Sometimes it looks very much like it's not his natural position, but in other moments shown well as Dakers does just enough to lay off here for Hilton, trying to play it to the feet of Fernandez, who allowed it to run. Now Dakers on that second ball, and the referee waving play on. Just beat his frame of mind at the moment. Wave play on for everything.
Oh, he's letting the game flow, that's for certain. Look at the possession. Still heavily in favor of St. Louis. But that's not what counts. What counts obviously is the goals, and just has been the way Charleston have played. Nice and deep counter-attack.
And now a free kick for St. Louis FC. Greg bumped off it. And Badawi awarding a free kick about 10 yards outside that penalty area. And a chance on here for St. Louis.
And the referee getting a mouthful from all the Charleston players, telling him that he got that decision wrong. He might have a point. I didn't see too much in that. Won the ball nice and cleanly. Carl Gregg sort of arching his back as if he was pulled, and convinces the referee that it is a free kick. There's that dodgy spray. Let's have a look. Well, it's a bit better this time. We can see that line.
You have to shake the can first.
So what does Anthony Pulis want here? Does he want them to take a cross, a shot? Seems to be giving them directions.
And Anthony Pulis, I think, is waving a sub on. Hilton or Camden Fair will be Hilton to strike towards goal again. And Kuzminski has to come straight to him.
Way too easy. At the goalkeeper. Wasn't too much power in it. Wasn't too much height in it. It's way too comfortable. Lewis Hilton, normally a better striker of the ball than that. And more changes will be needed in the St. Louis team to try and fire them up already. With Colin Fernandez coming on, there was a little bit of a lift in spirits, a little bit of a lift in energy. And we need more of that as we hit the 2/3 mark of the game.
St. Louis with much more of the ball. Able to really find that cutting edge. There's not really that clear-cut opportunity to point to that they've created in the opening hour of this match.
I guess there was a crossbar in the first half.
As it was indeed Matt Boehner who hit that effort. Lewis. And obviously, Boehner has that chance, but it's not really one where you'd go, well, he definitely should score that, or there's quality in the build-up. It's just sort of a second ball that came to him, and he puts in a great strike, but really carved open Charleston, have they?
Not at all, no. Kuzminski, I think, even had that shot covered. Yes, it hits the crossbar, but the keeper was only inches away from it. So, yep, really hasn't been clear-cut chance for St. Louis, as there wasn't really against Memphis either. Memphis played the same way. They defended deep, they countered, they soaked up the pressure, and Charleston so far have managed to do exactly that and get the crucial goal.
Lewis trying to play in behind towards Rittmeyer, who's come to this left-hand side. Reynolds forcing Hilton to head back, and on there for Svantesson, who just wasn't really alert to it. He could have profited there. Header won by Leland Archer, the Trinidad native. Here's Candela, the Colombian. Anunga, the Cameroonian. Woodbine, the Jamaican.
Sounds like United Nations. Very comfortable for Charleston, knocking it around, trying the long ball. Decent one as well.
Jay Bolt, the Floridian. Doesn't quite sound the same.
It doesn't.
Turning on at Rittmeyer. His left-footed delivery is in towards that back post and away from Camden Feo. Cicerone to try and start this counter-attack here for St. Louis. Tried to get it towards Dakers, who was running in behind. The space vacated by Bolt. Good tackle in the center of the park. As it's poor there from Van Schaik. Settled by Candela. Been strong in central midfield.
Anthony Pulis watching on at the bottom of your screen. Again, I think he's only a few minutes away from making another change. He needs to get energy in this team. He needs to give them a sense of positivity, and it's just they just can't break down this Charleston defense. Very good defense.
Testing coming in on Hilton, and now we'll see yellow for Ian Svantesson.
He's going to have to be careful from here on inwards. Ian Svantesson, and for Hilton a chance to launch something into that box and try and just put pressure on the visitors. Sometimes Route 1 football can work. It's not the prettiest, but a big boot into the box can work. Let's have a look. Gets there first. It's not much of a touch.
It's a foul. Yellow is a bit harsh.
I'm going to say, the yellow bit's harsh. The foul is fine, but Lewis Hilton felt he'd been hurt. And now, it's going to put pressure on with a decent ball.
It is hit with height towards that area. Greg able to flick on, but only towards anyone out of play for the goal kick. Greg, one of the USL's top goal scorers historically on 52 league goals, but hasn't really had too much of the ball.
Nope, you need good service if you're going to score, especially if you're the sort of striker that Kyle Gregg is, one who waits in the box to head and use his body and his strength to get goals. He needs service. He hasn't had it. And we just look at the midfield, and you know, Lewis Hilton's not that creative a player. He's more of a passer, but not creative. Sean Reynolds, not really. And I think that's why Colin Fernandez has come on, to try and spark something in midfield. The referee's going to have a word here. Not quite sure what it's about. It's a warning of some particular behavior that Malik Badawi didn't like.
It's a free kick here for Charleston Battery. Now, change being prepared for Charleston as it's lofted into that penalty area. Boehner just going to let it run. Now for throw in. And here is confirmation of the change, and will be Svantesson on the yellow card. Charleston with a player sent off in the last match. Wouldn't want it to happen again, so it'll be Arthur Boshua will come on. Native of Johannesburg. Settled in the U.S. in New York on Long Island.
He's done well, Svantesson, for me. Big player up front, really strong. But he's done well. He's led the line really well and tried one incredible overhead chip that was absolutely fantastic. And now it's up to the man from Joburg, Arthur Boshua, to pick up the fight up front.
And that change for Charleston is brought to you by Cigna. Striker for striker, just trying to get some fresh legs on. As Jay Bolt just grabs Kyle Gregg and tugs him down. Right now, St. Louis would go below the playoff line if results hold. Birmingham Legion with another victory. They've now won 4-5 today, going away from home and winning at Tampa Bay Rowdies, which is among the more impressive things you can do in this league at this point, given how well they've played. Now above St. Louis in the live table, and sometimes that's all it takes is 4 wins in 5, getting 13 points in 15, and you go from below the playoff line to above it.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic run in terms of gathering points. At this stage of the season, that's what St. Louis and Charleston need to be doing. For St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were 3rd in the table earlier in the season. And looking
very early.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know, 7-8 games in, and they were looking fantastic. And here they are, struggling to hang on to 10th spot, in danger of losing it in this game.
Cicerone onto it, taken down, penalty. Ta'anunga gets yellow as well. And a lifeline here for St. Louis, awarded by referee Malik Badawi.
Nunga's claiming his innocence, and I'd like to see this again. That's exactly what happened, but it's an unnecessary tackle to try and make in the box. You leave the player alone, let him turn, and then try and take the ball off him. And Nunga is looking absolutely shocked. So here we go. Let's have a close look here. Lovely ball played into Cicerone. I didn't see enough. Does he bring him down? He puts a foot out and around, but does he actually bring him down?
The arm is up as well and coming through a little bit. I think it looked worse in live action than it ends up being in slow motion replay.
I didn't see him bring him down. I saw him move a foot around and try and avoid actually making the tackle to bring him down, but it was well sold by Cicerone.
And you mentioned earlier Sam Fink, the penalty taker. He's scored 3 times from the spot, here to make it 4. You get a final equalizer here for St. Louis FC. Here's Sam Fink, kicking the wrong way. And now with more than 20 minutes left to play, St. Louis can turn this result round. They've got there first. Is St. Louis 1, Charleston Battery 1.
Yeah, the fans love it. They're delighted to get back in the game. They don't care how. They don't care whether it should have been a penalty or shouldn't have been. The home side fans delighted that their team have eventually got this breakthrough, and obviously they're hoping as they release all this smoke, they're hoping they can go on to maybe even win it from here. And sometimes in football you don't deserve things or whatever, but you take it. If it comes your way, you slot it the way Sam Fink has, you get yourself back on level terms, and then you try and go and win it. Fair, not fair, makes no difference in this game of football.
And fairly extraordinary for a center back to be this good from the spot, and that St. Louis FC goal is delivered by Domino's. 5th goal in USL, 4th from the spot for Sam Fink. It's been sensational. Also scored once in the US Open Cup, the goal that allowed them to beat FC Cincinnati. Send them through towards the quarterfinal. They lost to Atlanta United, but probably the highlight of the season, Fink's goal, and it's a stellar year for the captain for the club.
Certainly has. This one a crucial goal. Again, referee Malik Badawi being strict. We said at the start of the match he is a strict referee. The last game we did, there were 2 sendings off, and in his view, that was a penalty. He doesn't get the advantage of a replay, and certainly there's no VAR, so he's got to call it as he sees it, and he felt there was enough contact to warrant that penalty. So at 1-1 with 20 minutes to go, what a game we have. Both these teams desperate to get a result. Both these teams on the edge of going out of the top 10, especially with Birmingham's win away at Tampa. Everything to play for.
Charleston flying forward with numbers here as Zico Lewis can play in Anunga, and now Rittmeyer, first time, crosses through. Diving header away only as far as top. Ryan Anunga, his volley straight into Sam Fink, who goes down, hits him square in the chest, as Caleb Calvert has come on here, as has Master Kasher. Both those change brought to you by Cigna, as it looks like it's Kasher on for Cicerone and Calvert on for Greg. Those are indeed our changes brought to you by Cigna. So Anthony Pulis has emptied his deck here.
Yeah, as expected that he would bring on fresh legs in a fresh attempt. I think he obviously wants to go on and win it, which he tried against Memphis. He made a change, bringing on Calvert for a midfielder, and it didn't work then. He's going to try it again tonight and see if all these 3 fresh legs are going to make the difference that he needs.
It'll be a free kick on the far side, and now Charleston to try and restore their advantage. Scheich over the free kick. Charleston numbers in that penalty area, 6 in there to aim for. The native of Portland, Oregon, in his 5th season with Charleston Battery. Not the goal earlier. And there it is towards the back post. Gomez has to punch away as he was coming to him. And the St. Louis keeper up to the challenge.
Good goalkeeping. Just get it away from trouble. If you can't catch it, don't stress. Just push it out of the danger area. Full stretch there as well. Good save from the goalkeeper.
You've got to keep track of the runners. Flying in there was Bashua. Gomez eventually just focusing on the ball as it sets up an Electro Savings corner for Vincenzo Candela. It with pace towards that back post, and Fernandez is going to marshal it out of play for the goal kick. And he quickly wants to get it restarted. You see St. Louis still going to play with that urgency and that pace.
It's a good sign for their fans to see. And when you're at home, I think the onus is on you to be the protagonist, as they say, to do the attacking, to have a go, put your opponents under pressure wherever you can. Not sure who that was to. From Candela.
It's well there from Camden Fewo. Now Kasher.
Well, some good decisions, St. Louis go their way. That penalty definitely one of them in the previous match. Player sent off for what was a bad tackle. To be fair, Lindley a red for a bad tackle on Colin Fernandez, but we're down to 10 men. In those situations, you have to take advantage. The question now is, can St. Louis take advantage of getting back in this match? They couldn't against Memphis. Absolutely desperately need to today against Charleston.
Here's Jay Bolt now cutting on to his right. Bolt, leave it short there with Lewis, but cut out. And putting the shoulder in as Fink there, going through the bottom of Boshua there. Awkward there if he lands the wrong way. I think if Fink is just saying he didn't mean it, but always dangerous to be taken out from underneath.
I think Boshua was too happy. But look there, oh, that's just in the back of his ankle. When he got up, he had a few choice words for Sam Fink.
Reynolds. Hilton, nice return ball for Kadeem Dakers. Done a lot of running in the second half, and now can measure the cross in. It's a decent one towards Calvert. Now come here for Reynolds, just tries to have a go. And that's maybe not his game, especially with his weaker foot.
At his finest moment, shall we say. He had a go. Be fair, at least he was trying to do something positive, but he was off target, didn't catch it properly, and it sails harmlessly well wide. At least he has the confidence to get behind that. I'm sure it's what Anthony Pulis has said to him at halftime. You've got to have a go. You've got to be more positive. You've got to have that self-belief. Unfortunately, the fight of the ball didn't quite mirror the optimism of the player and the manager.
Set up there from Calvert. Flash Dwelson's coming on as now Cashier can slide in. Fernandez. And then Feo. Played all the way back for Fanwell Kavita. The scorer of the penalty, Fink. Boehner. Takers. Wanted Hilton to make the run. Instead, plays it straight into the defender. Charleston with numbers behind the ball. Trying to make life difficult. They hang on to their point. Feo, though, poking through. Here's Bradley Camden. Feo to measure the cross. It's overhit. Calvert's going to try and keep it in play. It's out for the throw-in. Chance set up nicely there, but poor delivery from Bradley Camden Feo.
He knew it as soon as he hit that ball. He had his head in his hands. He knew it had to be a much better delivery. You can see there's a different mood in the St. Louis team since they got back on level terms. They're back on the ball. They're controlling the game a little bit more self-belief. They've got fresh legs on the pitch. It's amazing how these games have their sort of ebb and flow. And it was Charleston who, after the halftime break, looked like they were totally in control. And that goal, that penalty, has really turned the tables here tonight.
Here's Kavita, and you see just by the shape of St. Louis right now how attacking-minded they are. Almost just thinking Kavita hanging out. Reynolds is in front of them.
This is deep-lying defense again of Charleston, which they've found so difficult to break through. And it's interesting that they got the breakthrough by getting the ball into the box and getting one of the defenders to put a boot in there that perhaps they shouldn't have done. And Nunga, they've got to get balls into that danger area, and that's what they've struggled to do, St. Louis, for most of the match. When they do, they get themselves a penalty.
Boehner is running into trouble. Here is Dante Marini, player that Michael Landhauser's turned to in moments like this. Dante Marini has scored 3 times, and all 3 of them have been match-winning goals. Last time in their away victory for Hartford Athletic to make it 3-2. Can he be the difference here on for his 12th substitute appearance of the year? Substitution brought to you by Cigna.
Charleston to take off their top goal scorer, Zico Lewis. Hasn't done that much tonight, but you always think with his ability, you'd want to keep him on as one of your options, as someone who can maybe grab you a winner.
Marini slots in at that same position. Hilton now towards that byline, trying to play the crossing, comes off a Galas and out for an Electro Savings corner for St. Louis FC. Interesting that given how defensive Charleston have been tonight, the two changes they've made have been to the front two.
Because those front two have so much work to do. They come back to the first line of defense, they put in some serious yards, and that's what it takes out of you when you play that sort of deep defensive system.
It's Fernandez to take the corner, flying through there, Calvert, but it's headed away. Charleston, Hilton trying to find a fellow green and blue shirt. Instead, a chance on here to hit on the counter. Camden Fay will just leave it with Gomez, who returns it to him. Really causing a problem there, Bashua. Win for pace. And the Faylo hits towards Dakers. Cleared there by Archer. 10 minutes to play. St. Louis back on terms through the Sam Fink penalty. Now level with Birmingham Legion and 1 point off Charleston as they started the match. Where the win can climb above them both. Dakers in behind towards Hilton. Tackle coming in there from Archer. And the referee has not awarded a free kick. He's awarded a throw-in. And Anthony Pulis having a problem coming all the way down his technical area. Frustration as well. And there's a red card. It's been shown here to Leland Archer.
He raised his arm against Lewis Hilton. He was trying to push him away because Hilton was grabbing the ball. He raised his arm, and again, as we said earlier in this game, you can't do that. You can't raise your arm. Yes, he was being pushed and shoved. Now the verbals. This is a tough referee. We said it earlier on.
Brian Woodbine also into the book. Not certain there. It's the second straight match that St. Louis has now been on the positive end of a sending off. With Memphis down to 10 on Tuesday night. I think the captain, Taylor Mueller, is just having a word.
You can't change the referee's opinion. Once he's made up his mind, that's it, done, and you don't want to talk yourself into the box. But look, Lewis Hilton was clever there. He irritated Leyland Archer. He tried to get the ball to make a quick throw, but Archer then puts his arm out and pushes him almost in the face. And the moment you raise your hand, if the referee sees it, you're in all sorts of trouble. An unnecessary red, and one that I'm sure Leyland Archer wishes he could take back, because he wasn't even being nasty. He was just pushing Lewis Hilton away, but he caught him in his face right in front of the assistant ref. Now the last 9 or so minutes, they're going to be playing it with 10 men, and they've gone from being 1-0 up and cruising to 1-1 and 1 man down.
Also the 5th card shown to Charleston Battery, to St. Louis's none. St. Louis have also been awarded a penalty.
Has gone St. Louis's way so far. The refereeing in the USL this season has been tough. It's been fair, in my opinion. It's been very tough, and as players, you've got to understand that and work around that and not take unnecessary risks, either for giving away a penalty, which looked to be harsh, to be honest, or a red card for Leyland Archer. Just got to play to the referee.
Bakers around Jay Bolt, now through the penalty area, can still get there on the byline. The cross is whacked into the defender, and a corner for St. Louis FC. Now the supporters getting behind this team that smell the opportunity.
Yeah, the mood has changed, hasn't it? And let's have a look at that red card again, and you're going to watch Leyland Archer in a moment. So Lewis Hilton, it's a fair tackle. Leyland Archer should leave the ball. Don't go and pick the ball up, because Lewis Hilton's trying to get it. Okay, you don't actually see the push in the face. But that's where
make sure we don't miss the delivery of the corner.
Yeah, that's where Leyland Archer should have just left the ball and got back into his position. By going to pick it up, you're inviting the opposition to come and try and pull it away from you. And then he pushed them away, and unfortunately pushed him in his face.
Colin Fernandez is having a word there with his manager about the kind of corner they want here. Referee now not to be taking Electro Savings corner, which is short here with Kadeem Dakers. Will return it for Colin Fernandez. Now slid towards Lewis Hilton. His first time strike. Takes a deflection before it can arrive at Kuzminski.
Free kick, wasn't it? playing it up and around, trying to get Lewis Hilton to get the shot. And if it wasn't for someone's head, that could have been on target, that shot.
Hilton's in space again as Boehner tries to slide it. Now Calvert to take it first time. Calmly arriving at the doorstep of Kuzminski.
Smelling blood in the water now, St. Louis. They've got themselves back in the match through the penalty, and then the red card to Leyland Archer. They want to go on and win this, and they know that they have to. It's their home games. They're going to see them in the top 10. The next match is away, and it's going to be a difficult one against Indy 11, so they have to win this one.
The strike coming out from long range there from Van Schaik.
Van Schaik getting a bit of a rush of blood there, trying to score from that far out at the angle, but he did score a fantastic opening goal, so maybe he deserves the right to shoot from wherever he wants. Because his goal that he did score was absolutely brilliant awareness of where the goal was, and a lovely turn and strike into the corner past Thomas Gomez.
Anunga to this right-hand side for Woodbine. Got to crunch in a little bit. Charleston down to 10, moving in from his right back position. It comes here for the substitute Marini to send through the penalty area. The touch is on there from Bashua, but a bit too heavy. Interesting that Charleston only have another defender available. Throw on, fill out the shade. They do have another change available. Here's Takers cutting inside. Sitting behind there towards Fernandez, but cut out.
How deep they are now. Charleston one man down. Sitting way deep, just Bashua up front. He's trying to get a few to come and follow him, but I don't see too many white shirts interested in supporting, and they've all dropped deep. 2 banks of 4, 6 or 7 yards apart.
Here's Boehner with the cross into that penalty area. Cleared away by Van Schaik, who we should note in the middle of all that also received a yellow card.
For arguing with the referee. It doesn't achieve anything if once the decision's given as a referee, then you're not going to get him to change his mind that easily. All you do is end up in the book for arguing.
Now, an Electro Savings corner for Fernandez to swing in towards that back post, and Kuzminski punching away. And as far there is Camden Fewo. His cross now into the penalty area. Header coming in from Fink. But before it could even go blazing over, the whistle had sounded for a foul against St. Louis.
Could see glory there, Sam Fink, couldn't he? Scored one already from the penalty spot. You could see the second one coming up, throws himself. There's actually a foul in front of him from Calvert. So it didn't even come from him. He gets on the end of it. He really should hit target there, although it was a hell of a stretch, to be fair. A great diving header. The clock's still ticking, and if this result stands, you've still got to say for St. Louis, it's a second draw at home. It'll be 4 points lost in the last 2 matches at home. And they've got some tough away matches to come. It's not a great result for them.
Away to Indy and away to Ottawa, and as well now they've had the man advantage for at least a few minutes. With Archer going off on Tuesday night, it was Cameron Lindley who got sent off for a late 2-footed tackle. Now, not to belabor the point, but we've actually received word from the officiating crew that the announcement made in the stadium for Van Schaik's yellow card was incorrect. Therefore, he is not on a yellow right now.
Which is strange, because we did see the referee raise a yellow at some stage. It's a straight red to Leyland Archer. So I'm not quite sure who the yellow was for, or whether he was just moving his cards around.
Now coming through here, Woodbine, and charging on for Charleston Battery. He wins a free kick, and now for the first time, a St. Louis player is going to see yellow as Camden Fewo is into the book.
I don't know if that's worthy of a yellow, unless he did it deliberately. I didn't see a deliberate foul. If he being, I mean, I'm all in favor of referees being strict, but it can't be that strict that you're scared to even make a tackle. But as you say, not much has been given against St. Louis. They haven't got too much to complain about.
And Camden Feo is the one into the book there. His 4th of the year. The cross delivered there by Mueller, coming all the way through. Will be a throw in here for Charleston Battery.
Anthony Pulis having made his decision, not much he can do. Thomas Gomez has just got to try and keep them out for the next few minutes and hope his forwards can do their business. And for Charleston, it's a case of can they get something right here at the death with 10 men. What an ending that would be for Charleston Battery.
Dinked over the top there by Van Schaik. Now onto the substitute Marini, sending it through at the near post, getting a touch to it, Boschua. And unable to direct it on target, but not bad work there from Charleston down that left as we're in the last minute of the 90.
Have been very neat in attack at times, Charleston. Thomas Gomez, what are you doing?
A Cruyff turn in the penalty area. That's what he's doing.
If that doesn't come off, you are in all sorts of trouble.
Reynolds in behind for Kadeem Dakers here, charging at the defense. It comes for him. He's tugged down. Jay Bolt waving away, saying no foul. Now Anunga grabbed at there by Boehner. He carries on here, top Ryan Anunga. Gave away the penalty that has this match 1-1. Tackle in from Kavita. It's out for the throw-in.
Both sides going for the winner here. Very positive from Charleston Battery as well. Anunga there, maybe trying to make up for the penalty, but having a go at that St. Louis defense, and St. Louis themselves on the counter also trying to win this match. So credit to both sides. They're not settling on a draw, and they both realize how crucial these points are to staying in the top 10 in the playoff positions.
We're in stoppage time presented by Paycor. Need more time in your business? Contact Paycor to handle your payroll and human resource needs. On the brink here, St. Louis going 3 full matches without a goal from open play. And almost a full match worth of minutes against 10 men as well in that period.
Penalty also, Charleston might claim was a little bit unfair to them. Benefit to St. Louis that they haven't taken advantage of in terms of going on to win this match as yet.
Fernandez, and a strike coming in from Kasher with his weaker right. And going over. I think Dacre saying to his ball boys, we need to get on with this. Might be one more chance on for us.
From a Charleston Battery point of view, when you get beat 5-0 at home, even though it is by Tampa Bay Riders in the previous match, you come here, you're 1-0 up against St. Louis, with a penalty given you against you, which was a harsh penalty perhaps. And then you have a player sent off. If you can still leave away with a draw, I think they'll be very happy with that result, Charleston Battery. There might be a few arguments about the red card and the penalty afterwards, but the draw itself, they'll take the point and say, wow, difficult place to come to, good job.
And they'll take it to Loudoun United if they can hang on to it, as going down to the edge there, Fernandez. Now a free kick here given away by St. Louis. Frustration coming from the stands.
Tired bodies out there, look at them walking back. Both sides have given so much in this game. They really have run themselves into the ground because they realize they're both in danger of dropping out of the top 10 in the playoff position. So they've given everything. It looks like it's heading to a draw, an honorable draw, you could say.
Now Dakers, the attempt sliding in there from Van Schaik. Now Dakers going to try and charge on his way. Some frustration of the similar runs between Calvert and Dakers as Reynolds out to this right-hand side. Hilton's got a sprint to get there. He's not going to be able to. Even with fresh legs, I'm not sure he was going to get there, but after 93 minutes, probably not. That's probably the last meaningful action of this one.
He's trying to move Bolt along and say, come on, but I don't think Bolt has any interest in rushing. He's going to take his time, work the clock down.
All the way back to goalkeeper Gomez. Michael Anhauser wants the full-time whistle. And we'll get it as soon as we add the minimum of 3. Now Fink will send forward. Play continuing. Calvert towards Dacres, who can take down. And he was onside. Chipped over, took a deflection on the way through. And we'll have an Electro Savings corner.
Wow, as it came over, I thought, what if he hit that on the volley? Could he have hit it first time, waiting for it, allowed the defenders to get onto him, but nonetheless, a corner in the dying moments for the home side.
Referee allowing play to continue here. In Paycor stoppage time, Gomez forward, and why not? They need to win. And it's in towards the back post. Kavita winning the header. And there is the full-time whistle. It goes over the bar for the second time in 5 days. St. Louis FC have to settle for a draw at home. It's a result that takes them below the playoff line, with Birmingham Legion winning earlier tonight at the West Community Stadium. It finishes St. Louis FC 1, Charleston Battery 1.
A great effort from both sides. You could see both teams fall to their knees at the end. Handshakes all around. It was played in a really good spirit. And whilst there was a red card, it wasn't a red card for dangerous play. It was just for raising the hand. And Charleston Battery might feel a touch aggrieved about the penalty, but nonetheless, what a good point for the visitors. Absolutely brilliant. Some lovely play for them, or from them. For St. Louis, not quite as fluid, not quite as good. Sam Fink probably frustrated there, but they haven't got more, and it's worrying times for them. As you say, they slip out of that top 10 in the playoff position.
Fink converts from the penalty spot. You see all the St. Louis players cutting frustrated figures at the moment, but Fink is our Pleats Man of the Match, as selected by our broadcast crew. Follow St. Louis FC on Twitter to vote in the Pleats Man of the Match fan poll. Sam Fink converting his 4th penalty of the year. He's become reliable from the spot. You still see he doesn't like the result. It takes them into 11th. Birmingham Legion with the win earlier tonight, above them in the table, level on 26 points. But Birmingham having more wins on the year, which is the tiebreaker here in USL. And here at Edward Jones full-time, it's St. Louis 1, Charleston Battery 1. We come back, full-time highlights and reaction from this USL Championship match.
The excitement that is sweeping the nation has arrived in St. Louis.
Hit a goal! It's Cicerone!
Fans are loving the authentic soccer experience. Tailgating, cheering, chanting, and much more. It's a party you won't want to miss.
Goal! St. Louis FC! Hit a goal!
Get your tickets at stlouisfc.com.
At Edward Jones full-time is St. Louis FC 1, Charleston Battery 1. St. Louis players and fans will go home frustrated. It's 2 home matches in a week and only 2 points from them. A 0-0 draw on Tuesday night and a 1-1 here tonight at the West Community Stadium. And let's get to how it all happened with our full-time highlights. I'll show you all the goals and all the chances from this one. Chris Whittingham, Gary Bailey wrapping things up after this fantastic USL Championship encounter is here. Russell Cicerone would play the 1-2, nice interchange, and Lewis Hilton's effort coming for Joe Kosminski.
They tried, St. Louis. They had a few shots from out wide, none of them clean, none of them causing too many problems. Charleston Battery a little bit sharper. Lewis here with an effort that wasn't far off. He's going for that far top corner, and it just floats over the bar. And here's Cicerone again. Boehner with an effort that think the goalkeeper had it covered. Comes off the crossbar eventually. But, you know, positive play, especially where Cicerone was involved.
And then here would be the overhead kick from Ian Svantesson. Nice service there from Rittmeyer to the penalty area. Not bad from Svantesson.
Yeah, it's 6 foot and whatever else he is. It's very athletic. And this is a ball going to be knocked in there for Lewis, who can then push it across. This is the goal itself. Look at this agility. Absolutely brilliant. Turns and hooks that into the back of the net for Scheich. Wow.
Scheich looks like he's been doing his yoga in midweek. Nice turn there. And getting the opening goal for Charleston Battery. St. Louis would press for the response and get it here in the second half. Taken down as Dorsal Cicerone by Tanunga. Referee points to the spot.
Yeah, Cicerone goes down. He gets up straight away because he doesn't think he's going to get the call. I don't think. He gets up and goes, all right, let me play on. And then when he gets the call, he's going, wow, fantastic. Up steps Sam Fink, Captain Reliable, sticks it in the back of the net.
And 4th penalty converted of the year. 5th goal in USL. 6 in all comps for Sam Fink. And then we'd have a sending off as Leland Archer tackles ball out of play, goes to grab the ball and waste a bit of time, shoves Lewis Hilton off the ball and hands to the face. That's a sending off.
It is not. For me, Archer, don't go to the balls firstly. Then there's a, and it is, unfortunately, and I think it's a difference in height. I don't think there's any nastiness. I just think Leland Archer is so much bigger that when he pushes away, he thinks he's pushing someone in the chest. It actually ends up in Lewis Hilton's face, and I'm afraid that is a red.
And the cross would be delivered. Sam Fink probably with the best chance. It was whistled for a foul against Calvert, but crashing in, and not too much after St. Louis went up a man, as was the case on Tuesday night. Full-time stat show, a team with attacking impetus, but none of those shots, even the ones on target, were really that dangerous.
No, they weren't. That was a problem. Better than against Memphis, where they didn't have the shots on target, but here, 4 or 5 of them barely reached the goalkeeper. Didn't cause him too much problem. And if anything, to be honest, I thought Charleston Battery had better possession of the ball around the box and looked more dangerous. In the end, I'm sure Charleston were delighted with the points, and Lewis, another 2 points dropped.
And now that area around the playoff line congested as Charleston on 27, Birmingham in 10th on 26, St. Louis in 11th on 26, Charlotte in 12th on 25, as we'll have an Eastern Conference playoff race heading down the stretch. These two teams will be prominently involved, and they share the spoils tonight. For our tremendous USL broadcast crew and broadcast partner, Gary Bailey, my name is Chris Whittingham, signing off. At Edward Jones full-time is St. Louis FC 1, Charleston Battery 1. Have a good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.